Hi, my name is Peter Kurtz from the Houston Academy for International Studies. Fun for Teachers asked some of the fellows that had formerly gone on their trip to have their students interview them and talk about them to promote the Fun for Teachers. So I'm here with two of my students, had them in World History and now have them in HCC 1301 for U.S. History. This is Jose Cantu and David Mondragon, and the person filming this is Mary Lou. So we are going to go through some of these interview questions, hopefully to help people know more about Fun for Teachers, but also to know how it helps the teachers and the students both learn from the experience. So give it to you guys.
Okay. So on your fellowship, why did you choose to go to Greece?
I chose to go to Greece for several different reasons. One, I was born there. So I wanted to see what it was like. I mean, my parents left originally from Idaho, so it was a big jump. So I wanted to go back there. Two, for learning experiences, I wanted to connect the mythology, because I've heard growing up, I heard all these mythological stories, seen these movies, and I wanted to see what it was really like, because a lot of times when you go to places, it's completely different than in the movies. So I wanted to see, one, if it even looked possible that some of these things had happened. But two, the third thing is I really have always loved archaeology, studied, and thought that learning that ancient culture where civilization started, in Greece and stuff, in a lot of ways, would be really interesting to do. So.
Okay.
That, and bring it to the classroom and teach it,
Yeah. There's a lot of history behind Greece, and during your trip, what do you remember the most?
I think that a trip that cool, I was told when applying, it's like, think of the coolest trip you could possibly ever do, and then sign up for that. And so that's what I did, and I really went everywhere. I went into the Diros Mani caves, which are caves south of Sparta. So I was underground, on a little boat, trying to get through there. Went scuba diving in Santorini, climbed Mount Olympus. I even made it to Troy, ancient Troy, and Istanbul, and came back. So what will I never forget? I'll never forget that the places were nothing like in the movies. It's totally different, like in the movie Troy, you see thousands of people on this coastline, running up. And the coastline, first of all, it's very, has a lot of vegetation. Like in the movie, it was just a sandy beach, and then two, Troy was still, you could see the water and stuff, it wasn't right up against it. And, all these big movie sets and how they fought and everything, it's really teaching me that a lot of these Hollywood movies are more about ourselves than they are about ancient history,
Yeah.
I'll never forget climbing Mount Olympus. There were interesting people I ran into. There was this one Greek that wasn't wearing shoes, that didn't have a shirt on or anything. He was just a hairy
He's not
Greek.
used to it.
Yeah, and I was like, oh my God, this could, so I could see your imagination works with you. It's you could imagine weird things going on under the mountains. But yeah, there were no gods there, so.
So how did your fellowship to Greece change you? How are you different now?
I would say different in a lot of ways. Just the amount of exposure you get traveling. I did almost a month in Greece, and just the transition from different cultures has a lasting impact on you. So I would say that the biggest, how am I different? I'd probably say, just a lot more educated on world cultures, and also how people have developed their history over time. Because it's very easy to see that these stories started off with probably an individual that became over time, more as legendary, and then over time it was more just godlike. The more time it was given, the more it progressed. So I would say it really gave me a better understanding of humanity, and also on my individual learning, but also on what creates what's interesting nowadays, you know, for students and how to kind of get them into it. You know?
So has your fellowship changed your way of teaching or any of that kind of sort?
I would say it has changed the way that I've taught in a lot of ways because, you know, I was almost like a giddy little kid, you know, going over there. Because it was like, you know, I just had been born there and just had all these kind
it's
of...
like I'm going back home.
Yeah, and like all these misconceptions of it, you know? And it's almost like you try to find the craziest, coolest trip you can possibly come up with for something like this. And then you go and you do it, and it's kind of like, now I can say I've done all these things, but on a personal note, it becomes like you start learning that there is more to it than just being able to say to do it. It's like there's a depth there of knowing how, actually knowing about it. And so it takes away a lot of the shine and glimmer of stories. But it also makes you a better storyteller when you tell it, because you know how people like stories glossed and shine, you know, because you start learning what's really there versus the story of what gets there. And the story in Greece is so great that they have, you know, millions in tourism every year. You know, like the Minotaur and all this. When you know, it really is just kind of a story now, you know, and a religion that was once believed.
So what's the best part about being a teacher?
I would say the best thing about being a teacher is that, you know, everybody likes learning and they just don't know it. So they really don't. Like, you know, they go home, they watch television, and it's because they, you know, are going to learn something that's going on in somebody else's life. You know, and even if a person is very, very bored, they're always looking to learn something else. And I really believe that life is all about that. So I think opening up students to that and training them, you know, how to be a better person, but also how to look at the world and how to understand how that can impact them, how it can impact others. I mean, we really all are, you know, learning about our surroundings and experiencing it, hoping to make it better. I really enjoy seeing students not only understand it, but appreciate it, you know, and actually go out searching for it too. I would say, you know, the best part about being a teacher is the influence that you can have over the development of different people. So it's a huge way of impacting many different people. And if you're good at it, it helps a lot of people, I believe. So. But that's enough about me. Let me ask. Let me ask some other ones. I'd like to hear this, and this is a genuinely good question. Fun for teachers provided it for me, but I think it's a great question. Is what did you first think when I told you I went to Greece?
Well, the first thought that came into my mind was Greece is your home. Like, it's your home. You were born there, so I was thinking you were going to go visit your family. But then you brought us up the PowerPoint, and we started seeing all the stuff you did, and then I was like, he's a history teacher. Of course he would visit obvious historical sites.
Right.
And that's basically what I thought.
Okay. What was your favorite part of the unit we did related to my fellowship?
Well, the thing that spoke out to me was, of course, Sparta, because we all seen the movie.
Yeah, right.
And it's like very inspirational, but then you came out of nowhere and basically crushed my dreams, because you were like, that's not how it happened. So I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So that's basically what spoke out to me, because you were like, they didn't really do this. There was never a cliff. Maybe they did fight them, but it wasn't like for like days and stuff. It was just for like a little while, and that's what gave them, you know, their credibility.
How did you think differently of the world after we did that unit?
Well, for me, the unit really brought not just the world, but also life into context, into consideration. Like with the unit with Mycenae, when you were talking about the difference between living a day and being remembered forever as compared to living a lifetime and not being remembered, like that really brought into question my life, what I want to do, how I want to impact the world. Do I want to impact the world? You know, that unit, it really, it changed me a little bit. It really did.
I also want to ask you that about that too, David. How did you think differently about the world after we did that unit?
Well, like, it's kind of the same thing as you said, but like, just impacting the world won't. It depends how you impact the world, because you gave an example about how Hitler impacted the world, but he's remembered as like the most hated person ever, and he like committed the most sinful crime, like the Holocaust and everything. So it's not just living for like one moment, it's living for several moments and being remembered by the people you care about, and then just helping people in general.
So, if someone gave you $5,000 to go somewhere to learn about something, where would you go and what would you do? And this is individually.
I have two places in mind actually. I would go to North Korea, actually, to learn about their history and like what it was like right before Kim Il-sung came into power, and how his regime and how communism changed North Korea to what it is today, going through the Korean War and the Cold War. So that's my first one.
Yeah, what's the second one?
Second one would be Russia, to learn their history, again, through communism, not like from Lenin on to the 1990s. Like, it's just, it's so different. Like, here we're fed so much about capitalism and how our system, we all know how our system works, or at least we should know how our system works.
Right.
So it's just, it's a good way, like I personally believe both of those would be a good way to study our past enemies. You know, learn from the enemies and learn from the past to make the future better.
Aren't those the two on the NSL?
Yeah, actually.
All right, David.
I really don't know where I would go. I mean, you put $5,000 in my hand, I'd be like, ooh, $5,000. Like, first of all. But I guess seeing how much Greece impacted you, I might be considering to go to Greece if I had $5,000. Or maybe Germany, because a lot of stuff happened in Germany. I really don't know where, actually.
Well, you have to start looking at it. I mean, there's a lot of different things out there.
It depends how much $5,000 could get me. I mean, you can't go to like Britain and expect to stay like a whole month with.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's why a lot of people actually in this program. I mean, the Fund for Teachers is a great program that tries to get, you know, money to teachers so they can go travel, so they can get passionate about their subject and then bring it back. Obviously, I obviously was very passionate about Greece, but I think you're right. I mean, there are many different reasons to travel many different places, and I think that's, and I hope that teachers get out of that box and actually, you know, do travel to different locations, because I feel like in the United States there are, you know, are people that are educating the future a lot of times haven't even left their own country, and I think that in an international world, international community that is developing, you know, having students like you that are already doing this, but also teachers need to be doing this too. They're truly guiding our future. So, thanks for doing this, and hopefully that helps somebody out there that wants to apply for the program. So, thanks.